Alright, through 2 weeks, the Eagles' offense has left a little to be desired, and the predictability has reached an all-time high. However, thankfully the Birds have a plan to change that, and the Rams just helped Philly in the most surprising way possible. In this video, I'll get you caught up on what that was, share why you can have some more optimism that things will turn around, plus an intriguing target for the defense to consider. So let's talk about that and everything else around the Birds, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? You realize we're about an eighth of the way now through the NFL season, and the Eagles' offense is beginning to make some changes.
It's about damn time.
It's not something we're avoiding, so I know going forward, we have the plan in place, and if it comes up, it'll definitely happen.
Look, talk is cheap, and I do agree with every single one of you, even though I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can. I do agree with those of you saying the Eagles have way too much talent to be this ineffective on offense. However, it's also just 2 games in the season at this point, and the Birds are 2-0 for crying out loud. Granted, some of the specific struggles or shortcomings are probably even more alarming when you say them out loud. Like Jalen Hurts' average depth of target through 2 games being the lowest in his career. It's only 6 yards, in case you were curious. Which just so happens to put QB1 tied for last with Atlanta's Michael Penix for attempting the second fewest deep ball throws. And to make matters worse, Brooks Cabina shared that Hurts is the only starting quarterback to have yet thrown a pass between 10 to 20 air yards, as the Birds' mid-range passing game has literally been non-existent.
Where'd it go? Where did it go?
We'll get to it, but to be fair, the designed quarterback runs are also in the same boat. Since, believe it or not, out of Hurts' 23 rushes so far this season, none were designed quarterback runs. For those counting, it was 8 brotherly shoves and 15 scrambles from the pocket. Now, when asked about it, Kevin Patullo did say that the designed quarterback runs will start happening. We will see those, but I'm curious, you hear, these other instances, areas that they're struggling in. Seeing it with the eye test, what is the most alarming part of the Eagles' offense to you? Personally, the designed runs don't bother me so much, so I'd probably go with the mid-range passing game being non-existent. Granted, this next part's not really a surprise, but to QB1, he doesn't care how it looks.
There's definitely some evolution that we can do. There's definitely some things that we can grow in, but I look inward on all of those things and just want to make the most of the opportunities that we do have, and when you're able to do that and you win, when you win and you have a lot to learn from, you can be very critical of yourself on that, and that's something that I've done. So within the things that are within what we do in our system, if you will, just really operating at a high level and continue to challenge those around me with asking questions and trying to make sure we're all on the same page. So I think that's the most important thing. Again, operation, synchronization, being on the same page, and going out there and playing our game. I think, too, a component of it is there's a template, So I think expectations are fair. Ultimately, it's about winning. But when we look at what we're capable of, we know what we're capable of. But given this new season, this new team, offensive leadership looking different, you grow into that, and that's what I mean. So we're confident in where we can go.
By the way, Anthony Devonta and I covered this quite a bit on the last live stream, but I'm nowhere close to being just freaking out or panicking about the offense right now. Heck, you recall that Philly's offense under Kellen Moore failed to score a single point in the first quarter until week 9. Like, I get the emotions of the present and struggles can make us forget, but we aren't talking about a couple weeks here. We were legit halfway into a season. I mean, you think about that. Halfway into a season, we hadn't seen a single thing up on that first frame on the scoreboard. Plus, it's not like the offense didn't continue to struggle even leading into the playoffs. Yet they found a way to get it done when it mattered most and give us some absolutely unforgettable moments. Like the pinnacle pick 6 from Cooper DeJean, for example, which, by the way, I'm going to be giving this thing away to one lucky subscriber on this video. You guys know the drill. Drop a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed, and then go down to the comment section and give me any sort of takeaway, anything for this video. It automatically gets you entered to win this one from Jordan Spector of Spector Arts. Again, that's all you got to do. Be subscribed to the channel, and then one subscriber will win the pinnacle piece by Jordan Spector of Spector Arts. And thanks again to Jordan, because we'll be giving away his art and new Immortals trading cards all season long, so keep tuning in to win. Just saying, while you're leaving a comment down below, a little perspective goes a long way. At the same time, I'm not knocking you for demanding better from an offense that features guys like Saquon, AJ, Smitty, Dotson, and one of the best offensive lines in football. After all, even several of the players talked in the offseason about how they felt like the offense wouldn't skip a beat switching to KP once Kellen Moore left.
I have no doubt in my mind. Last year, Kellen was the OC, but KP really had a big voice in everything that we did. Those two were kind of like OC and co-OC. I truly have no doubt in my mind that we're gonna hit the ground running, especially with the players that we have.
Not sure I'd say the Eagles have hit the ground running yet, although there's some areas that stand out for reasons why. Maybe most importantly, it's the fact that Philly is telegraphing exactly what they're going to do. I mean, at this point, again, small sample size, but if the Eagles are in pistol or under center set, they almost always run. And if they're in shotgun, they sparingly run, which makes even more sense when you look at the percentages because they're pretty glaring when compared to other NFL teams. As the Athletic shared through 2 games, Philly has a tendency to run under center 96% of the time compared to just 69% of the time for other NFL teams, 91% of the time in the pistol compared to 63%, and then in shotgun, they only run 34% of the time compared to other NFL teams of 27%.
You can't look at that number as a whole for it to tell the entire story.
I don't know, maybe there's some one-off instances, and yes, you can take the tush-push into account, but even when you remove those, the Eagles run all the time in under-center formations, pistol formations. The defense knows exactly what's coming. I'm fine with a little higher percentages because we are a run-first football team, but when it's almost 100%, come on. Especially since in short yardage situations, it's a foregone conclusion what Patullo's offense is going to do in those scenarios. Literally, when lined up under center or in pistol with 6 yards or fewer to go, the Eagles run it 100% of the time.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't, and which is why even though the Eagles are 7th in terms of yards per game or rushing yards per game, they're actually 20th in the league when you look at yards per attempt. Still, personally, having said that, I'm not close to freaking out because the Birds are going to buck the trends and find their footing. However, while it may take them some time to do that, you can do that right now with Brunt Workwear, the sponsor of today's video. Brunt was founded by Eric Girard, who grew up blue collar. His buddies told him the brand stopped listening to workers decades ago and they sold out to fashion, which is why Eric built Brunt for the trades, naming every product after the guys he grew up with, real hardworking tradesmen. Now look, I get it that you don't have time to break in a pair of work boots, which is why not only does Brunt have boots that are built for the toughest job sites, but they're comfortable right out of the box, allowing you to stay focused on the work and not on your feet. And I'm telling you, these things are legit. They got waterproof construction, barnyard-resistant leather, slip, oil, and heat-resistant outsoles up to 572 degrees, and they're EH-rated. Also, Brunt isn't just boots. They've got a full line of workwear, heavy-duty pants, weather-resistant jackets, basically gear designed to help keep you protected and productive no matter the conditions. Personally, I went with the Hawthorne waterproof athletic hiking boot, and I gotta tell you, this is the absolute best hiking boot that I've ever owned. But here's the best part. Brunt knows they built the best gear on the planet, so they'll let you try it on the job. That's right. Wear it, test it, beat it up, and if you don't love it, send it back. Free shipping, zero risk. So go ahead, scan the QR code and use my code PHILLYSPECIAL10 to get $10 off your first purchase. Like I said, try them on the job, and if you don't like them, send them back.
Definitely on our mind as far as when you plan those things. You always want to make sure, I have a tendency I can break. Definitely need to do that this week.
When it comes to tendency breakers, do you have a philosophy on when's the right time to run one?
I think it really depends on, obviously you can do that early in the game. You can do it late in the game. It can pop up whenever. It just depends on what you're featuring that day, like what's working.
That is 100% a fantastic point because tendencies can be a good thing. Shout out to Fran Duffy at PHLY who shared that members around the league actually want their teams to have tendencies. That way they can try to break them in high leverage situations to come up big. Heck, it's what Kellen Moore continued to preach last season about using tendencies to set up an opposing team several weeks down the line in the season or in the playoffs. FYI, the play to Jahan Dotson in the Super Bowl that nearly scored a touchdown was the same alignment and setup from the regular season that Philly used over and over. It's just that they finally went to J-Dot in one of the biggest moments and caught the Chiefs' defense napping. Speaking of napping, though, Patullo did catch Kansas City napping on the first play of the game last week, with the OC admitting they saw something they liked on tape and utilized some play action that very likely would have turned into an A.J. Brown touchdown. It's just that the play got busted thanks to some very poor blocking from Grant Calcaterra. I mean, honestly, I don't know if that's a surprise because we've seen more than enough from Grant at this point that we know who he is. Yet despite all that, Eric pointed out that Calcaterra actually has the most run-blocking snaps in the entire NFL among all tight ends the last 2 seasons, but not much to show for it.
What would you say you do here?
I've tried to be nice and then give him extra years. I mean, he was an older prospect coming out of the draft. That was like the thing coming out is just like, he's an older guy. He might just be like, he is what he is. He's a decent receiver, limited upside because of his age, but like a non-factor as a blocker. And he literally hasn't gotten any better. It's come to the point where he has 2 targets in 2 games, right? Where he was the starter for one of the games and he can't block. Like, you literally cannot ask him to block anybody and think that he's going to win
sad.
and like have any confidence. So in my opinion, he should not see the field. Like, he doesn't do anything on special teams. He doesn't do anything as a pass catcher and he can't block. Like, why is he out there? To me, until Dallas Goedert is ready, it should just be Kylan Granson, Cameron Latu, and you just never use a third tight end. Just make him inactive, cut him. I don't care. Like, I know this might be a little bit critical, but I mean, you're in year 4 now, and you cannot block anybody. And you literally ruined a guaranteed touchdown because you couldn't block.
By the way, for those wondering how or why Grant would see so many snaps, especially run blocking the way that he is, it's unfortunately the case is because Dallas Goedert, as we know, has continued to get injured. The Eagles are a run-first football team, so it's just naturally put Grant out there on the field. But Anthony does have a pretty fair point when it comes to he doesn't really need to be on the field, especially it's going to come to blocking like that. Like I say, that's one of those decisions that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Of course, the Eagles could have had a better contingency plan, but I think the loss of Johnny Wilson, Ben Van Sumeren, and the temporary loss of Dallas Goedert is being underplayed just a little bit. Like, come on, for a run-first, run-heavy team, guys like Johnny and BVS just added to the mismatch. So yeah, there's some adjusting happening, but I think that they're going to get it figured out. I'm telling you though, Johnny Wilson out there as another wide receiver, it was like a tight end, and he started to prove himself in the receiving game. That was probably the biggest, if not one of, but maybe the biggest loss from the training camp. Anyway, they will get it figured out, and the one part that already seemed blatantly obvious is to get A.J. Brown running more than one route. I mean, you look at his route tree from week 2, and it's no wonder all he had was 5 catches for less than 30 yards. Heck, he was winning his matchup since AJ was charted with a league-high 38% route win rate in week 2. It's just that out of 8 of those routes run, only 1 of them was run beyond 10 yards. Meanwhile, not that Devonta Smith's routes look all that impressive either, yet it was interesting how 4 of his 6 routes actually did go beyond 10 yards. I don't know, I've tried to look around for this, I've gotten a lot of comments, is it AJ's hamstring injury? I don't think so. It seems like he's fine. They would have probably said something. We've gotten some sort of report. But knowing A.J. Brown, the plays that he makes, sure, absolutely. You would love to see him running a little bit more deep shots and not just Devonta Smith. Hopefully we see that in week 3. I would expect that we do. He's just too much of a threat to be running 5-yard routes the entire game. And seeing that Rams starting cornerback Akhello Witherspoon is out with a broken clavicle, 11 is certainly going to have a massive opportunity to get things right. Because remember cornerback Emmanuel Forbes? Yeah, the one A.J. Brown baptized and handed him his welcome to the NFL moment. Well, he's been with the Rams since last year and has certainly shown some growth by going up against Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in practices. And as a former first-round pick, he had a lot of potential entering the league in 2023. However, in just 2 meetings his rookie year, A.J. Brown caught 8 passes for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns on 16 total targets. So you think surely LA would not be crazy enough to start Forbes and match up against A.J. Brown. Although it turns out they may be crazy after all, since not only did Sean McVay praise Forbes for his growth and development, but the most recent update of the depth chart actually has Forbes starting for the Rams.
You've lost your mind.
Down in 10, Hurts going sideline, Brown in a perfect drop, going end zone, Wentz Brown, it's there!
I can promise you now I will be taking the overs on whatever A.J. Brown has going on Sunday. At the same time, I get it that like a lot of players, some time can allow for natural progression, but there's just some matchups who always have that psychological advantage, and Forbes is one of them. Plus, it's not just AJ, as Devonta Smith has had his way with Forbes as well, dating all the way back to college, when Smitty ended a game with 11 catches, 204 yards, and 4 touchdowns against Forbes, leaving the Mississippi State cornerback actually calling out Devonta before their first game in the NFL back in 23 as motivation to get better. I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but these dudes are ultimate competitors and never forget. So between that, the offensive changes, extra motivation, and some better execution this week, I'm confident we're going to see a much improved offense. I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm making too big of a deal out of this thing, but personally, I'm extremely hyped to see that opportunity and matchup. Again, I'm expecting a big turnaround in Philly, but either way, the A.J. Brown trade speculation is ludicrous.
For us to be a successful team, A.J. Brown is going to have the same production that he's had the last 3 years here. And in the midst of a 17-game season, you don't ride the roller coaster off of 2 weeks. I love AJ's selflessness. We saw him for an entire year, right? We saw him for an entire year. And now he had 1,000 yards last year and played really well and made a lot of really good plays for us. But obviously we ran our offense last year through Saquon. He had 2,000 yards, right? So we saw him for an entire year do the things necessary to help us win without the ball in his hands, while also getting the ball.
Because they haven't lost, I think it is at a simmer. It will absolutely be at a full boil if they play this style on Sunday and the Rams beat them.
Look, if that were to happen, it wouldn't be great, sure, because a loss is bad enough. And then, yes, if it happens that way of AJ not getting the targets, is something going to be said? Maybe, but this is just the media fuel that happens every single year, a couple times a year with AJ Brown. He does need to get his targets, but again, I'm saying this, trust me, he will. It's not time to trade him in fantasy or anything like that. And honestly, regardless of which side you're on, AJ has almost $90 million in dead cap this season and another $50 million in dead cap next season. So realistically, even if both parties were hoping for a trade, there's no way a move like that would ever happen. Again, naturally, there's always going to be some drama, especially as much attention as the Eagles get. But you have to admit, there is a certain aura to him.
Oh, A.J. Brown can hardly do a thing. You're not, Devonta Smith is hurt. Guess what? He's going to get off the mat, and he's going to break your back. He lands on his back and then breaks the other team's back. Saquon Barkley, hold him for less than 100. He'll still score a touchdown, and so will Jalen Hurts. Defensively, they're going to make a play with some guy you've never heard of. And that'll piss you off because they have enough people you've heard of. Jalen Carter kept the spit in his mouth. He's unstoppable. And that's the way it feels with the Eagles right now. That's the way it feels. And right now, the only team I've seen out there through the first 2 weeks that can play mistake-free football, put the pressure on Hurts, and really make a very difficult day for him occur. And the rest of this, and not make the mistakes, right now, to me, looks like the Green Bay Packers through 2 weeks. I understand we're an eighth of the season in. I get it. That's what Overreaction Monday is all about.
Sure is.
It's out there on our YouTube channel for everyone to take in, youtube.com/Rich Eisen, showing our podcast everywhere. But it's kind of role reversal. You see the Chiefs, the team that if you make a mistake against them, they will crush you with it, and they don't make the mistakes. Now, that's the Eagles. Now, the Eagles come in with an unstoppable force and an air of invincibility about them. They're the ones who come into your town to make your life miserable. And they're the ones you're going to have to beat in Philadelphia. And they're the ones who have gotten 2 breaks with 2 drop footballs already this season.
On that note, I will say, as much as things seem to be going wrong on the offensive side, they are locked down on the defensive side. For instance, Josh Uche is the highest rated defensive end in the NFL through 2 weeks and has completely rewritten the narrative on Agent Zero in Philly. Meanwhile, Jordan Davis has the most solo and assisted tackles in the NFL among defensive linemen, and Jihaad Campbell was the highest graded Eagles defensive player in Week 1 and is the second best rookie after Week 2, along with Kenyon Mitchell being absolute lockdown and Drew Mukuba living up to the hype just 2 weeks into his career. Oh, not to mention Moro Ojomo, who deserves a ton of credit. Granted, we kind of saw that one coming.
Well, Mo's a good player for us. He was last year. Now he's going to get more reps, so he should be showing up more. He's a good football player. You need to stop being surprised by that.
All right, positives here, but Vic Fangio's defense is back, and they are the constant. At the end of the day, the offense can get much better, but it's also very different compared to past years because this is a talented enough group to win football games thanks to the defense. And the best part is that Jalen Carter still isn't 100%.
He had some good rushes. He's still, I think he needs to round into better shape. Both he and I talked about that, and he readily admits that, and I think we'll even get more. But I thought for everything that has gone on in his world, I thought he played pretty good.
The fact that JC's still got another gear that Fangio expects out of him is insane, but also very scary. I mean, if you're thinking about an opposing offense, a very scary prospect there. The Rams coming up, we know the play that JC made on Matt Stafford in the playoffs, so maybe a little extra motivation. But I'm telling you, we saw him line up on the edge against Kansas City. That's a new wrinkle there. I mean, good luck trying to block him as it is in the interior. You got to block him on the outside as well. The new moves he has, helping Moro Ojomo. When Moro does not get double-teamed, you saw what happens against Kansas City. I'm telling you, the possibilities with the Breadman are endless. And speaking of the possibilities, I saw some comments asking about safety Darnell Savage after he was released by the Jaguars, and I suppose nothing's out of the question. However, given that Mukuba seems to be coming into his own, I don't really envision a bigger move to bring in another safety. Of course, having said that, Anthony did remind that Philly did host Savage on a top 30 visit prior to the NFL draft in 2019, so it's not entirely out of the question. After all, two other players that they hosted that year weren't originally drafted by the Birds, but they did find their way to Philly in CJ Gardner-Johnson and A.J. Brown. Still, I'm of the mindset that it's less likely to happen with the way that things have played out. Just like Adoree Jackson really helped quiet the critics with his play on Sunday, only giving up 26 yards on 5 targets.
I thought it was improved. I thought he did some good things. And hopefully that will kickstart him into being a good corner for us.
Okay, hopefully that was a turning point for Adoree. We point back to week 2 and say, yes, that was the moment when Adoree Jackson solidified it. He was able to be, he doesn't need to be a lockdown, just rock solid. But at the same time, with LA coming in, you got Puka Nacua, Devonta Adams. More on that in an upcoming video, the breakdown's there, but it's going to be a much bigger challenge. For now, though, let's get you caught up on the most recent injury updates. So Dallas Goedert was back at practice and looking pretty good, so we'll see if he's able to go, but obviously that'd be a huge boost to get him back. Tanner McKee returned as well, and was nice to see him throwing with a glove on, but still a positive. Meanwhile, guard Kenyon Green was also back after the Eagles signed him to the active roster. Plus, Devonta Smith and Jalen Carter got in some light work dealing with a back and arm injury that they banged up in week 2. Overall, like I say, great news, and the only player for Philly who wasn't practicing on the 53 was Will Shipley, as he's still dealing with the oblique injury. And then as for LA, you already know about Akhello Witherspoon, but they're also down a starting guard in Steve Avila. Anyway, won't know the full details until later in the week, so we'll keep you posted there. Also, very exciting episode coming up, so stay tuned for that one. Just past 139,000 subscribers. Again, cannot thank you guys enough. You make this community what it is. Absolutely the best. We'll see you on the next one. This has been the Philly Special.
Like I should